started working with the Ruffs. I met John Ruff Jr. probably about 13 years ago at Warren County Community College. Ironically, was best friends with my wife, introduced me to my wife. And after that, the story says itself. I've been now known John and Brenda, same amount of time, met Kyle about 4 years ago. To me, it's like a family. So being here, working with these guys, it's family. Go on vacations with them, dinners together. It's a real family-oriented business, and the way they treat me, it's the same way they treat all their clients. We don't treat them as customers and just take money. That's not the game plan. The game plan is to give you a quality job at an affordable cost as a family business should. A lot of people, what they end up doing is they do the interior first, and that's a big problem because you put $100,000 into your kitchen, and then your roof starts leaking, and you're like, oh, I don't have the money to do it, and people don't like doing payment options. Hey, we can finance it. They don't like the word finance, so they don't want to do it that way. So then they sit there, and $100,000 becomes a $250,000 job because then we got to go back and redo the interior of someone's house. So I always say, start on the top, do the roof, do the gutters, do the siding, then do your interior.
Well, they started out initially, I was working behind the scenes. I was a paralegal for 26 years of my life. And I basically went from 40 hours to 35 hours to 30 hours, and I just kept going down less and less. And the first time we were going to try to rent the front half of this office, but we took too long, didn't make it, to rent where we are right now or to lease it. And then I think it was about probably 2 years later, came back around and they called me up at work and said, I think it's time. I said, you sure about this? And they're like, yeah, I think it's time. Because when they said it's time, that meant it was time for me to finally leave and not be a paralegal anymore for the remainder of my life. So I basically kind of retired and decided to come here and do this full time.
Awesome.
Oh, sure, there's plenty of challenges. Let's see. We can start with your family life becomes, or your business life now becomes your family life.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's very difficult. So, we are a family that sits at the table for dinner together at night. Very hard if you haven't had a chance to have a discussion during the day to not bring it up at dinner time. So for a while there, we kept talking about business during dinner time, which is unacceptable because we do have to have family time. And it took one of my sons to actually bring that to my attention, and to my husband's attention. Otherwise, we probably still would be doing it and, not getting personal time, basically.
Right, you need that separation.
You do,
Yeah, definitely.
unfortunately. Well, first, I'm going to say we are women-led. So I think that puts a lot of responsibility on me, my husband, and my children, because if our business goes down, my entire family goes down, which means I can lose my house just as much as anybody else can lose theirs. There are other things that we do that we always have some supervisor, whether it's my husband or my one son, are always at the job site. One of us are always at the job site no matter what, if our subcontractors are there. And if we're not, it's only because we were away, but we always make sure our homeowners know. We try to always keep the homeowners involved.
Right, just constant communication.
Constantly.
Is important, yeah.
It's very difficult, but if it wasn't for my staff here also at the same time, we wouldn't be able to do it,
Right.
Yeah, there's certain emails you can have automations for, but the one-on-one with the customer is what makes them feel comfortable and us feel comfortable, because we know more of what they want and they know more of what we're expecting from the homeowner also,
So I first joined probably about 4 or 5 years ago at this point. When I first started, I didn't know much, so I ended up picking up shingles most of the time, just doing the heavy lifting, the grunt work to make it to the top. And then after a certain point, I spent a lot of time in the field with my brother, learning the ins and outs of general contracting, and how to speak to homeowners and building things, and just stuff you need to be able to function in this industry. And nowadays, I'm the general operations manager. I schedule most of our projects. It's a stressful job, but it's something I wouldn't be able to do now if I hadn't done what I did when I first got here. So, happy where I am now. Yeah, so I think going forward, the first thing we'd like to accomplish is consolidating some of our assets into an easier form. Because at the moment we're spread out across a whole bunch of, we have units in one place, equipment in another place, staff in a third place. So we're trying to make sure that we can get everything under one roof so that everything flows smoother. And then once we get that under wraps and we got everything down to a science here, hopefully send my parents on their way to a nice early retirement, and then me and my brother can run everything comfortably, and I can feel some solace knowing that my parents provided for me, and now it's my turn to return the favor for them.